The quartet's music froze in the air, bows suspended, when my father tapped his glass. One clean chime cut through the garden chatter, and every head turned toward the man who had summoned them. I felt the shift right away. Montgomery Harrow never asked for attention unless he meant to use it. This story is an original creation by the writing team of the Revenge World channel, inspired by the hidden corners of family life and told with the purpose of fostering emotional connection and spreading understanding. He extended a leather portfolio toward me as if presenting an award. "Juliet," he said, voice smooth and public. "It is time for a little transparency." When I opened it, my breath caught. Inside lay a single printed document, an itemized invoice totaling $183,950, boarding, education, emotional strain. A murmur rippled across the guests. My father lifted his chin. "You have been a disappointing investment," he announced. "Tonight, we settle the account." I felt the humiliation burn up my throat, but I kept my voice steady. "You planned this. Accountability is not cruelty," he replied. "It is stewardship of the Harrow name." My mother, Celeste, didn't defend me. She simply touched his arm and passed the microphone to my sister, Delilah, who stepped forward in a shimmering gown that caught every light in the garden. Delilah smiled at me the way someone smiles at a stain they intend to remove. "You rushed here straight from work again, didn't you?" she said softly into the mic. Always the practical one. Then she opened her palm. The keys. "Juliet, Dad transferred the title to someone who actually respects the brand." The guests watched. No one breathed. I placed the keys in her hand. She leaned closer to the mic, her voice feather-light but sharp enough to slice. "Finally, time to clear out the trash. If you are listening along, let me know where you are joining. From hearing your voices reminds me these moments reach far beyond Charleston." And still, I stood there in silence, clutching the portfolio that now felt like a verdict. Celeste kept her hand on Delilah's back as she stepped forward, guiding her the way a queen guides her chosen heir. Delilah lifted the microphone, her bracelets chiming softly. "Juliet has always struggled with gratitude," she said, her eyes fixed on me. "But tonight is about clarity." I felt the ground tilt beneath me. "You do not get to define me," I said quietly. Delilah tilted her head. "Someone has to. You refuse to play your role." Before I could speak, my father gestured toward a man standing near the bar. Winston Grant, my department manager, startled as if pulled from the shadows. He walked toward us stiffly, his discomfort obvious. Montgomery addressed him with a polite smile. "Winston, would you mind explaining the situation?" Winston swallowed. "Juliet, earlier today, your system credentials were suspended. There are concerns regarding security judgment, effective immediately. You cannot access the servers until the internal review is complete." A sharp ringing filled my ears. "My work has nothing to do with this family." Montgomery answered first. "Your work reflects on this family. Everything you touch does." Delilah stepped closer, lowering her voice so only the guests in front could hear. "Some of us elevate the Harrow name. Some drag it down. Dad simply chose to stop carrying dead weight." Winston avoided my eyes. "I am sorry, Juliet. The decision came from above." Montgomery clasped Delilah's shoulder as though sealing a coronation. I stood alone, the weight of their judgment pressing in, while the garden crowd waited for me to break. I left the garden without a word. No one tried to stop me. My father's voice drifted behind me, still charming the guests, already rewriting the moment into something noble. The night air felt heavier with every step, and the gravel path bit through the soles of my shoes as I walked toward the road. My phone buzzed before I reached the gate, a message from Celeste. "We did this because we love you. Growth requires discomfort." Then another Delilah's post glowing on my screen. She sat in the driver's seat of my sedan, chin lifted, eyes shining as if she had been wounded. Sometimes family becomes toxic. Protecting my peace matters. #healing. I kept walking. The city lights blurred at the edge of my vision as I followed the long stretch of highway toward my apartment. My feet throbbed, and the memory of my father's voice replayed in my mind. Disappointing investment. That phrasing was not spontaneous. He had rehearsed it. My phone buzzed again. Montgomery's email. If you intend to dispute the invoice, you may, but only after establishing a payment plan. You have until Friday. Do not test me. I whispered into the dark. You already tested me. A car slowed beside me. It was Winston. He rolled down the window, visibly uneasy. Juliet, do you want a ride? No, I said. You made your choice tonight. He flinched but did not argue. The car pulled away, leaving me alone on the shoulder. By the time I reached my apartment, my feet were blistered and my hands were shaking. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let the silence settle around me, not the silence of defeat, but the silence where a decision begins to form. The Harrows had made a move. Now it was my turn. I didn't turn on the lights when I entered my apartment. The dark felt honest. I set the leather portfolio on my desk, opened my laptop, and watched the terminal window blink awake like an old ally. My hands were still trembling when I typed the first command. The estate's cloud backup, something I had configured years ago when the Harrows needed their files accessible and secure, still carried my credentials. My father never bothered to change them. Control, to him, meant assuming no one would dare push back. The directory unfolded on my screen. Financial folders, legal scans, trust documents. I opened the one labeled Magnolia Legacy Trust. A scanned letter appeared first, typed by the family attorney after my grandmother's passing. It stated that the trust had been created solely for me, meant to release $140,000 when I turned 21, funds intended for education, a first home, or whatever future I chose. Then the withdrawals appeared, dozens of them, all authorized by Montgomery Harrow as trustee. My throat tightened as I traced the trail. The entire trust had been drained within 2 years of my grandmother's death. Each withdrawal labeled estate operational needs. But the largest one, nearly $30,000, matched the purchase date of the sedan Delilah claimed tonight. The car my father pretended to loan me as an act of generosity, I whispered. You used my inheritance to trap me. The terminal cursor blinked, steady and silent. Another document auto-synced an email between my father and the attorney. Montgomery wrote, Juliet does not need to know the trust amount. Transparency would only encourage delusion. Reassign funds as necessary for family priorities. Delusion. He had taken the first gift anyone ever left me and reshaped it into a leash. I leaned closer to the screen, my voice steadying as the truth settled into place. If they see me as an expense, I said quietly, then it is time for them to learn the cost. I scrolled deeper into the estate archive, opening a folder titled Palmetto Tech Growth Fund. The name alone felt suspicious. My father loved grand labels for hollow things. The statements inside told the real story. For 5 years, Aunt Harper and Uncle Rowan had transferred $3,200 each month, believing Montgomery was investing it on their behalf. Every transfer landed in his holding account, paused for a day, then moved again, straight into an entity called Blue Ridge Media Group. I opened the registration file. Delilah Harrow was listed as its managing partner. My jaw clenched. I pulled up the expense logs, travel invoices to Paris, payments to a cosmetic surgeon in Atlanta, recurring charges from a social media consulting firm, all signed off by my father and Delilah. I whispered, "This is theft." A notification pinged an old message chain synced from the estate server. Delilah had written to my father, "If Harper asks about the returns again, tell him the market dipped. He will not understand the details anyway." Montgomery replied, "Reassure him. The Harrow brand depends on unity. The Harrow brand Not integrity, not family. They had built Delilah's image with stolen money, then expected me to applaud her shine. I leaned back in my chair, the truth sharp and steady inside me. They had taken my trust. They had taken Harper's savings. And now, I was done letting them take anything else. I returned to the archive and opened another folder, one I did not remember creating. Reputation Services, Blue Ridge. My pulse tightened as the files loaded. The first invoice came from a boutique PR firm in New York. It listed digital reputation restructuring, narrative suppression, and competitive image elevation. The total was nearly $10,000. Paid by Blue Ridge Media Group. I opened the accompanying email thread. Delilah had written, "I need my platform strengthened before the Charleston showcase. Prioritize visibility. Also, please ensure negative tech industry chatter about Juliet stays buried. She attracts the wrong attention." My breath caught. My father replied in the next message, "Proceed. We cannot let Juliet's instability reflect on Delilah's ascent. Protect the Harrow brand. Instability. For years I thought my stalled opportunities, my failed networking leads. The sudden cold shoulders from potential mentors were just bad luck, my own shortcomings. But here was the truth, typed in clean corporate language. They had paid people to make sure I failed. A soft knock startled me. My neighbor, Cam, stood outside my door, holding a takeout bag. "You okay?" he asked gently. "Heard movement. Thought maybe you needed food." "I'm fine," I said, though my voice cracked. "Just seeing my life clearly for the first time." He hesitated. "If someone hurt you." "They did," I said. "But not in a way you can stop." He nodded and stepped back, leaving the food at my door. When I closed it, I returned to the screen. The cursor blinked steadily, waiting. They had rewritten my reputation once. Now it was my turn to rewrite theirs. I wiped my face, steadied my breath, and opened my contacts. There was only one person I needed: Marina Holt, the regional director who once watched me hold off a ransomware attack for 72 hours straight. She answered on the second ring. "Juliet, is something happening at the office? My credentials were suspended tonight." I said, "Not by IT, by my manager." "At a family event." Silence sharpened on the line. "Explain." Montgomery Harrow fed Winston a false narrative about my judgment. Winston announced the suspension in front of more than 100 guests. My voice steadied. There was no protocol, no HR review, just humiliation on command. Marina exhaled slowly. "That is not just improper. That is liability." Her tone shifted professional, surgical. "Do you currently possess any access badges or key fobs?" "Yes. Keep them. Your access will be restored within the hour. Winston Grant will be placed on administrative review." I closed my eyes as relief spread through me, not warmth, but clarity. "Thank you, Marina. You earned this long before tonight," she said. "Take tomorrow off. We will talk Monday." When the call ended, I opened a new encrypted folder. One by one, I dragged every document into it: the drained trust records, the diverted deposits, the shell company bills, the PR sabotage threads. I named the file Harrow Truth Archive. As it saved, my phone lit up again, another message from my father. "Juliet, return my calls. This has gone far enough." "No," I whispered. "It has finally begun." The archive finished compiling, a single, heavy truth waiting to be released. I sent the Harrow Truth Archive to 3 recipients: the family attorney, Aunt Harper, and the board of the Harrow Foundation. No message, no explanation. The documents spoke louder than anything I could ever say. Then I disconnected my router and let the silence work for me. By morning, my phone vibrated nonstop. I powered it on only when Aunt Harper's name appeared. Her voice trembled, not with anger, but with something rawer. "Juliet." We saw everything. A shaky breath. You did not destroy this family. You exposed what it had already become. I swallowed hard. I never wanted to hurt you. You did not, she said. Montgomery did. A second voice cut through the call, Uncle Rowan, furious and grieving. We will handle this legally. You are not alone. After the call ended, the messages from Delilah poured in. Juliet, take it down. You do not understand what you have done. You are jealous. This is sick. I muted her and waited. It did not take long. A heavy knock rattled my door. I opened it just enough to see my father standing there. His suit was wrinkled, his composure cracked. Juliet, he said, voice hoarse. Retract the archive. The Foundation is suspending me. There will be investigations. You have no idea what this will cause. I know exactly what it will cause. I said. He gripped the doorframe as if the house itself might steady him. Please, I am still your father. I held his gaze. And I am finally done being your asset. I closed the door before he could answer. Late that afternoon, a quiet knock sounded nothing like my father's pounding. When I opened the door, the Harrow family attorney stood there, holding a small sealed envelope. This was written by Magnolia Harrow. He said, she instructed it to be delivered only if certain conditions were ever met. His expression softened. I believe those conditions are now clear. After he left, I sat on the edge of my bed and opened the envelope with careful fingers. My grandmother's handwriting curved across the page, steady and deliberate. My Juliet, if you are reading this, it means truth has finally found its way to you. I feared the Harrow name would try to claim you, shape you, diminish you. I left the trust in your care because you were the only one who knew how to build a life without leaning on our shadows. My throat tightened as I read the final lines. Heritage is not what they give you, child. It is what you choose to carry forward and what you choose to lay down. I pressed the letter to my chest, letting the words settle not as comfort, but as permission. For the first time in years, something inside me eased. That evening, I carried my laptop to the window overlooking the streetlights of Charleston. The Harrow Truth Archive waited on the screen, a single file holding decades of control. I hovered over the delete command, breathing in the last remnants of their power. This ends with me, I whispered. I clicked. The file vanished. A soft knock came from the wall, my neighbor Cam, calling through gently. If you ever want company, he said, I'm here. Thank you, I answered. I think I'm finally ready for that. If this story reached you, tell me where you listened from. Your voice reminds me that freedom can echo farther than any old family name.